just buffers. Oh my God. Oh my goodness, y'all. We did it. We did it. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Not only am I finally live on YouTube, it has been quite a journey. We're on there. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. Oh wait, hold on. I don't know if y'all could. There we go. We made it. This this has been ridiculous. Oh my goodness. This what happened when you don't be this is when you out of practice. When you are out of practice, this is what happens. Okay, let me fix myself up a little bit because now I didn't help us today, Lord. Okay, y'all. So welcome. This is what did I say that my intro was gonna be? This is for trendsetters, okay? For trendsetters only. This is the most inclusive, exclusive space for trendsetters. We're having conversations about building our brands, about being authentic, showing up online and offline as ourselves. I got to remember to look at the camera. I got a lot of things going on here, but we are here. And I'm excited to talk about using your voice because if anyone knows anything about me, I'm going to encourage you to use your voice and why that is the thing that your brand is missing because you're trying to build your brand while also hiding at the same time. And just to give you a spoiler alert, it doesn't work. You cannot build a personal brand and not be personable. You got to be relatable. You have to be someone that people feel like they know. You have to be someone people can relate to in some shape or form. And the misconception is that you have to tell all your business, that you have to put it all on Front Street. And interestingly enough, I feel like all of those things are really just excuses. They're really excuses for the real problem that people have. Do y'all want to know what the real problem is? The real problem is that most of us don't feel like our voice matters. That's it. We can say that it's because we don't like our voice. We can say it's because we don't think that we look right. We can say that it's because we're too tired or because we're too busy. But the reality of it is that for most of us, we don't feel like our voice matters. We don't feel like it makes an impact. We don't feel like people want to know about it. We don't feel like people want to care about it. We believe that we are here just to serve people and that there should be no connection, there should be no personality included in it because we're afraid that we're going to be rejected. And I didn't realize how heavy that was on me until I got into entrepreneurship and really building my business and realizing that I wasn't going to be able to build my business and hide. Like, I wasn't going to be able to just like sit here and pretend like I had it all together. I wasn't going to be able to like ignore the fact that there were things that had happened in my life that played a role in the fears that I had and the inconsistencies that I would have with creating content and the ways that I would charge for things or the way that I would not want to charge for things. There's so many factors and aspects of entrepreneurship and building a brand that is directly related to our experiences as people, and a lot of those experiences go all the way back to our childhood. They go all the way back to middle school and high school and the things that we learned and the things that we heard and the ways that people may have hurt us or the ways that we may have been used to hiding because we wanted to protect ourselves. Like there's so much that goes into that initial feeling that I talked about, which is not wanting to be the face, not wanting to be the voice of your brand when that is the only way to build a personal brand. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to break it down a little bit because This is one of those things that, as long as we continue to ignore those thoughts and those feelings, or the more that we continue to dismiss them and come up with different reasons why we don't show up, or the reasons why we don't want to use our voice, all these different things that we're afraid to do, there is going to it's going to always be a barrier for us. It's going to always be that thing that stops us from showing up. Okay. And so this is for the people. Let me give this disclaimer, make sure I'm talking to the right folks. This is for the people who know that they are supposed to be the face of their brand. Okay. This is not for the people who prefer to do the faceless content, the people who prefer to not be in front of the camera, who don't want to be the face of the brand. This is not for you. Okay. This is for the people who know that this is what they're supposed to do. They know that this is their call in life, and they've been running from it. And I got to be very specific about that, because there are a lot of options and a lot of alternatives for people to make money, to build businesses where you are not required to be the face of it. And while it is totally possible to build a business and not be the face of the brand, to not be the face of the business, there are people who use that as a reason why they don't show up when they know deep down inside that they're supposed to. Okay. And so there, I'm going to try to describe the feeling, the feeling that I had that let me know that I couldn't hide anymore. Like, I couldn't be that person that tried to be behind the scenes and hide behind the shadows. Okay. And you can listen to this and let me know if this is something that you can relate to. But I've always had something about me that drew people to me. Like, I'll always be the person who people would notice. Like, oh man, this feels like I'm bragging, y'all. This is like so uncomfortable for me. It feels like, it really does feel uncomfortable, but it's the truth. Okay, it's the truth. It's my truth. I gotta speak it. Okay, so this past week I went to Mardi Gras, right? And so if y'all are familiar with Mardi Gras, this was my first time there. I had no idea what to expect. I mean, I knew they had parades, but that was pretty much like the gist of like what I understood about Mardi Gras. And so during Mardi Gras, they have like hours of parades. Like, there's different routes every day that the parades are going. And for hours, it's just people marching down the street. There's floats, marching bands. There's people from different organizations within the community, and it's just like a lot of people, like hundreds and hundreds of people. And so I'm watching, I'm watching just like as a spectator, and I'm watching this group of women come down. They're the next group to go down in the parade. And so they were like a group of older women, and they were just dancing, like, and as they were going down the street, like they had this routine that they were doing. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching them, and I'm just like, I'm just smiling at them because I'm just having a good time. It just felt good. And I know it's a lot of work to be in a parade. So, hey, beautiful. And so I was just like, I'm gonna smile and be friendly or whatever, right? And so I end up making like eye contact with somebody who is in the parade. And so she steps out of the parade. Like, literally, she steps out of the parade and she comes and she stands next to me and she starts talking to me. And so as she's talking to me, I had on these like really big red beads that I caught at the that I caught from one of the floats. And so she was at first she was commenting on them. She's like, "Well, those are really big." And I was like, "Yeah, no, they are, but I wanted them. Like, this is like one of the few things that I really wanted to make sure that I got before I left the parade." And so the next thing that she said really like struck me, because I was like, I was thinking about like why me, you know? And so she after she said that, she made the comment about the beads, she was like, you really stand out to me. She's like, you are gorgeous. And I was like I was like struck by you. Like I just had to come over here and tell you this. And I don't know if this is like, too uncomfortable or weird or whatever, or if this is okay to say, but I just had to let you know, like, you stand out. And so she said that. And then, she just like, like gave me like a little tap on the arm and she went back into the parade. And so when she did that, I was like, I was, I honestly wasn't sure how to feel about it. I felt like flattered, but it also felt a little like it just felt weird to me because of all of these people in this parade. Like, what is it about me that made me stand out to you? And that's something that has been like a recurring thing in my life where I'll be the person where like people will pick me out, like out of a group or out of a crowd. They'll say like, "There's just something about you that makes you like stand out. Like I just like you catch my attention. Like you stand out to me." And this will be no matter how hard I try to like be quiet, or I don't necessarily like try to draw attention to myself. I'm not really the person who desires the attention, especially when it's like a lot of attention, or if it makes me feel like uncomfortable or just like a little nervous, or I don't know, just like it just makes me feel away because I don't do great with compliments. I'm getting better, but I'm still not strong in accepting compliments. And so I'm just not generally somebody who like tries to draw attention to myself, but it always happens anyway, right? And so even when people hear my name, they'll say like, "Oh, that sounds like a famous person, like Jada West. That sounds like you sound like somebody that's famous." And I always was like I just always felt like it was normal. Like it was like it's just me. I'm just me. Like I'm just regular. I'm just normal. But it's been presented to me time and time again that like I'm somebody that stands out. I'm somebody I stand out. And so those are the types of moments that let me know that I'm not somebody who's meant to be behind the scenes. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I fight to be like, in the back somewhere in the cut, I am not that person. Like I'm a person who is supposed to be in the forefront. I command attention. I am someone who I naturally like people are just drawn to me. Like it's just something about me that does that, right? And so there are a lot of us where that we know that about us. Like we know that we are supposed to be the face because there's something about us that it just draws people to us. Like there's something about us that commands attention. There's something about us that really like just makes people notice us. And it doesn't matter how like much you fit into the standards of beauty, or whether you are somebody who's like typically the most attractive person, or none of that stuff is important. But there's certain people where there's just things about us that just commands attention. When we open our mouths, people listen to us. When we show up, when we're just being ourselves, people notice us, right? And so there are many of us who we recognize those things, we recognize those experiences, but we shrug them off. We were like, no, I don't think so. Not me. Maybe pick somebody else, get somebody else to do it, right? And so I told that whole story to basically let you know that if that is something that you can relate to, if that's something that you feel like makes sense to you, then I'm talking to you, especially if you have been running from it. Especially if you have been quiet, if you have not been using your voice, if you have been trying to stay hidden and in the shadows, this is for you. And I want to encourage you before I get into this. I want to encourage you and let you know that not only is your voice necessary to build a brand, but your voice is necessary in general. Your voice is necessary. It is important. It is the thing that is going to help to bring together the different pieces of the visions that people have had that need to come together. Like, there are people who are meant to be connectors. There are people who are meant to facilitate different relationships. There are people who are supposed to be the face so that when people see them and hear them, they know where to go. They know who to work with. They know what initiative to be a part of. They know what business to connect with. There are people where you are literally the missing piece to all of these other puzzle pieces that make together that come together to make a movement. Like, really, like, you are that missing piece, that missing link. And it's what it's going to take is for you to be willing to be courageous and to be bold and to start to talk about the things that have been on your heart to talk about, to start to show up and be that face, to be that voice, and to be comfortable in who you are. Because what I believe is that one of the biggest reasons why is that you don't feel like you fit in. You don't feel like you meet the standards. You don't feel like you are the traditional choice. You don't feel like you're the conventional choice. You don't feel like you are the most eloquent. You don't speak the most proper, or maybe you're a little rough around the edges. You don't feel like you look like or act like the types of people that you have seen in the limelight up until this point. And I really want you to understand in this moment that that's the point. That's the reason why you are necessary. That's the reason why your voice is necessary, your story is necessary, your face is necessary, because you are going to be that person that steps up and says, "Hey, I'm representing all of the people who look like me, who sound like me, who have experienced things that I've experienced, and who have felt like they were counted out." Because somebody has to step up. Somebody has to be the leader. Somebody has to say, "You know what? I'll do it. I'll take the first steps. I'll lead the way. I'll carry out the vision and allow the people who are supposed to be connected to it to come alongside me, to follow behind me." And so this is really this is really me calling you out of the shadows and challenging you to no longer reject that you are different. Don't reject it anymore. Don't reject that there's something about you that people are drawn to, because it's there for a reason. It's not a fluke. It's not something that is going to go away. It's going to always be a part of who you are. But now you have to make the decision to say, "Okay, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to accept this, and I'm going to see what I can do with it. I'm going to maximize this. And before I leave this earth, I'm going to make sure that I leave it all out here. I'm leaving it all out here. I'm not leaving anything that I am supposed to carry, anything that I'm supposed to pick up. I'm not leaving it on the table." Okay? So, got a little carried away on that part, but I felt like there's just some moments where it's just like, I got to say what's on my heart. I got to say what's on my heart. And mm, I got to say what's on my heart. So, all right, y'all. It feels a little heavy right now. And I feel like it's because there's going to be a lot of resistance to this. Okay. There's going to be a lot of resistance to this. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to listen to this and they're going to know that it's for them, but they're going to feel like they don't want to, they're not ready yet. Like, they're not ready to accept this. They're not ready to take this on. They are not prepared. they don't feel like they're prepared to walk in this and to really take this on. And I think that now is the perfect time to tell y'all. I got to tell y'all this story now. So let's see. Let's see. Okay. So I used to feel like if I talked, no one would listen to me. That's literally how I felt, okay? I felt like if I spoke, if I talked about the things that I was noticing, if I talked about the things that I felt like were important for people to hear in order for them to be more creative or to be more free or to have more fun with their style, I felt like if I talked about those things, that nobody wanted to listen to me. I felt like I was only good for giving people tutorials on fashion. I would show you how to style some clothes and then I would hang it up and call it a day, right? But if I started to talk about my life, if I started to talk about things that were important to me, if I started to talk about my faith, like if I talked about anything that lets you know who I am as a person, I didn't think that there was anyone who cared about that, right? And so because of that, I spent a lot of time making content that while it looked good, quality wise, editing wise, it was missing me. It was missing my personality. It was missing the things that made me unique. It was missing my perspective and my take on it that I knew for a fact was missing. I knew that nobody was talking about fashion the way that I thought about it. I knew that nobody was talking about how it was tied to your identity and how you saw yourself. No one was talking about the fact that this is just a little, listen, this is just a little like a small detour, but no one was talking about the fact that body types are a scam. Okay. They are a scam. I said what I said, and I'm not taking it back. Body types are a scam. And I've always felt like dressing for your body type was just another way to make people feel like they were inadequate. And I could not stand it. I legit could not stand it. And it frustrated me so much because while I knew that, I felt like there was going to be so much resistance to it. And it was frustrating to me because I didn't really know how to talk about it in a way where I could give people alternatives. Like I didn't know the alternatives to it. But there was all these are all the things that I was thinking in my head all while just making content where I was like, doing a little pose in the outfit and doing like, a little transition where you like take the clothes and when you take the shirt off or you put the shirt on and it pops on your chest, like what I'm talking about. I would do all of that stuff. I was getting the transitions, okay? I had the transitions down, I had the trending sounds, but it was missing the part that made me different, that made me unique. And there was no way for me to portray that if I didn't actually talk. Like I had to actually speak in my content in order for people to understand the depths of it, to understand the nuances to it, and to really be able to like teach people in the way that I wanted to. And so that was what was missing from my content. And so when I posted, when I started to like recognize that this was the type of content that I had to be willing to try in order to grow, I started really doing that on TikTok. So I would dabble in it here and there. Oh, that's not true. It didn't start on TikTok. It actually started with me doing I would like talk more in my stories on Instagram, and I was doing YouTube at the time. So I would have like a little introduction before my tutorial and kind of talk about my inspiration behind starting it, and giving more of like a behind the scenes and just like sharing more about my life with my content. And those are the ways that I was doing it here and there, right? And so when we got to TikTok, I started to see that, oh, it makes more sense for me to post on TikTok like how I would with my stories on Instagram. And so I started to use my voice more because I felt like the trending audio was saturated. And honestly, I just got to talk because what I got to say, I can't type it fast enough. I don't want to have a bunch of text on the screen. It would just be easier for me to just talk it out. Right. And so I started doing more content where I was speaking. And so as I started to get more comfortable, I would make like the short 15, 30 second videos where I would say something like real, short to the point, or I would say something maybe a little bit longer, but I was the point was that I was using my voice more, right? And so I remember having a video, the first video I had that went viral, but the comments were negative. Like, and it wasn't overwhelming in terms of like the balance between the positive ones and the negative ones, but it was the first video that I had where there were so many comments from people who didn't know me but had so much animosity. I've never triggered that many people at one time in my life. And so I remember there would be certain comments that stood out to me that really made me feel some kind of way. And those are the ones where I was like prepared to clap back. Like I was like, I got some words for you. You got something to say to me. I can say something back, right? And so there were some in particular where they would either question like my credibility, which was a big trigger for me. When people questioned my intelligence in general, that was a trigger for me. And those two were the big ones because those were the things where I already felt like people didn't want to hear what I had to say. And I also felt like those are the things where I was still struggling with, like, really accepting it for myself, like believing it for myself that I knew what I was doing and that I was somebody who was credible. And those were all feelings that I already was thinking, like those are already things that I had in my mind. And so to see people comment those things, even though they didn't know me, it kind of solidified those feelings in my mind, right? And so I in the first maybe like 48 hours, I could barely log on to TikTok. Like I just turned my phone off and I called a friend so that I didn't have to look at my phone. I could just get my mind off of it for a little while. And I was able to, after those couple of days, I was able to come back to it. And I had to shift my perspective because while there were a lot of people who had some trifling stuff to say to me, there were even more people who were asking questions. There was even more people who were saying, "Okay, well, how do I find out what my style is?" Or, "Well, what do I do now?" Or, "What do you mean by that?" Or, what could it possibly mean if I feel like my style hasn't evolved, or if I feel like I'm struggling to understand how I want to show up now. And there was a lot of people who saw that video and had a positive reaction to it. And while it didn't necessarily have to be a "you're so right," or it didn't have to be the ones agreeing with me, but it was the ones who had more questions, and it was the ones who really wanted to understand more that let me know that while there were definitely people who didn't agree with it, or there were people who didn't want to accept it, or people who was just flat out triggered by it, there were so many people who really needed what I had to say. And if I hadn't made that video, if I hadn't made the content, then there would have been no way for me to know that. And so that right there was my experience with directly confronting this belief that I had that nobody cared about what I had to say. And the thing that was so interesting about this experience is that some people don't care. Like some people don't care what I have to say. Some people aren't interested in what I have to say. And that's okay because the belief that I had was that there was no one. Right? Like, I honestly believe that there was nobody that cared, that there was nobody that was interested. And it was proven to me in that moment that that's not true, that there are people that care. that there are people that are interested and there are ways that I can help them. And so I was able to create more content and eventually create a workbook and able to get a couple of clients from it. And I was able to sign up that one. That one was incredible, y'all. I think from like that one video, maybe one or two videos, I had almost like 100 people sign up for my text list at one time, which was wild. I think about that now and I'm like, that I don't know, that was incredible. I don't know why I don't talk about that more, but that was one of the best moments for me in terms of like generating leads just from content by itself. And so it ended up being a really like lucrative move for me to challenge that belief and use my voice anyway. And so I I want y'all to take this story, this experience, and I want you to think about if this is something that you have been telling yourself. Like, is this something that you have been believing for such a long time, that your voice doesn't matter, that people don't care what you have to say, that you don't that you can still stay behind the scenes and be satisfied, that you're not meant to be the person that is visible, you're not meant to be the face. Like, really think about those things and ask yourself if you're telling yourself the truth. Like, is this really the truth? Or is this just what I've been telling myself? Is there any evidence to support this thought, this feeling that I have? And with my example, that answer for me was no. There isn't proof to back up this thought that I had, this belief that I had, that nobody cares what I have to say, that nobody's listening, right? And from that, even though it doesn't take away the feelings, it doesn't take away the challenge. Like, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to do it, but it showed me that it wasn't the truth, and that it also showed me what was possible when I started to take steps towards confronting them and doing the things that I really want to do. Because now I'm challenging the lies, I'm challenging the things that have been a barrier for me, the things that have been blocking me and holding me back. And that's the opportunity that I want you to be able to give yourself. And so there are a couple of people that I'm talking to, a couple of types of people that I'm talking to with this, because there are some people who have been using their voice, right? Like the talking, you don't have a problem talking. Like, you can talk in content, you can get on live, but you don't talk about the things that you care about. And you don't speak like someone who has authority. You don't speak like someone who knows what they're talking about. You don't speak like someone who can help people, right? And that's a part of it. That's a part of the problem, is that you can still be moving like a shy person. You can still be operating like a shy person, even if you are not quiet, even if you are not necessarily reserved. You can still be more extroverted in your demeanor and still not be talking about what you need to be talking about. And so that is still the same thing that you're telling yourself, but you're saying it from a place of, if I talk about this, nobody's going to care. If I talk about this, it's going to be proven that I'm a fraud. Or if I talk about this, what if somebody doesn't like it? What if somebody challenges it? What if somebody says, that's not true? Or what if somebody triggers me, says something that that just backs up all of the insecurities that I already have? Like, these are all possibilities and concerns and worries that you have in your mind. And so for that kind of person, it's just easier for you to talk about the things that you feel like are acceptable, and to talk about the things you've always talked about, to move how you've always moved, even though it's not helping you to build your dreams, right? It's not helping you to create your dreams. So that's the first person. The second person is the person that don't talk. Like, people don't know that you have incredible things to say. People don't know that you are amazing. People don't know that you are resourceful. They don't know that you are an expert. They don't know your gifts and your talents because you don't talk about them. And when you do have opportunities to talk about them, it's usually because someone really like pressed you for it, or somebody asked you a lot of questions. Like somebody had to really dig it out of you. And when you start talking, you don't stop. Like you can go, like you can talk for hours on certain topics and certain things, and you have a wealth of information and knowledge that you don't share with people. Okay? Both people, whether you're the quiet person or whether you the person who is hiding in plain sight, both of those people have the same problem. Is that you don't feel like people want to hear what you have to say. It's the same issue. And what I want you to know is that, first of all, it's a lie. Even though I told you to ask yourself if it's a lie, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the answer's it is. It is a lie. And I also want you to consider what you are missing out on, what dreams, what visions, what desires you have that you are withholding from yourself at this point. What you're telling yourself you don't deserve, what you're telling yourself you can't have, because you have allowed these lies to take over. You've allowed these beliefs to take over. All right. So, with all that being said, I'm trying to make sure that I said everything. I said everything I had to say on that. Um, yeah, that's my challenge to you. I want you to consider that. I want you to think about that. And if you are really, really, really looking to take a step and do something with it, I want to challenge you to, let's see. I want to challenge you to make a video that that allows you to talk about what is on your heart. Yeah, I want you to get it off your chest. That's what we're gonna say. Okay. That's gonna be your takeaway. I want to challenge you to get it off your chest. So whether that is in a video, whether that is in your stories on Instagram, whether that is on a live, whether that is in a blog or on a podcast episode, on threads, Twitter. You know, I feel a way about Twitter right now. But my challenge to you is to get it off your chest. Okay. And now, normally, I would make challenges like this and I would tell you that you don't have to put it out there. You can do it privately. But I want to challenge you. I really want to press you on this. Okay. I'm applying pressure. And I really want you to be willing to put it out there so that you can see for yourself. So you can see the results for yourself. So you can see how it feels for yourself. And if you end up taking me up on this assignment, let me know. Come back here and let me know that you have accepted the challenge, you've done your homework, and you can even tag me in it because I would love, 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 love to see what you create. Okay. So that's it, y'all. That's the episode. I said I was going to go to 40. I said 30. I didn't say 40 to 30. We're at 38. It's fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're gonna keep it here. I'm glad that I got this off my chest. I had to get this off my chest. So this is me leading by example and doing my homework too. But I love y'all real bad, and I'm going to talk to y'all in the next video.